I got myself the Go Discover FPV plane from Hobby King. I didn't get the plug-and-play version though. I got the kit, and the manual that comes with it unfortunately is for the plug-and-play version, and the bit about installing the gimbal assumes that the gimbal has already been assembled with servos and everything, but that's not how it comes in the kit. So I looked around on the internet for documentation on the Hobby King site and on YouTube, and doing a Google search, and there didn't seem to be any instructions about how to put together the camera head tracking gimbal, and so therefore I decided to do a little video to show you how to do it after I'd done a bit of head scratching. So this is the main mechanism, and it goes in the plane like that, and you can see it tips forwards and backwards, and it also does a pan movement. As to where the servos go and how they move it, it's not immediately obvious, and there's all sorts of extra bits that they don't say what they're for. Now if you're going to try and put all these bits together, you're on hiding to nothing. Nothing's going to happen. And I worked out that these duplicated bits, like these two, what they call anti-reflectant or something, they actually unnecessary. They're just extra weight, although they might stop a bit of lens flare possibly. The different parts are for different size cameras, and I worked out that the actual main gimbal comes fitted up to fit a GoPro Hero 2 camera nicely, because that just slots in. If you try and put a Hero 3 in there, it doesn't fit, but they've produced another replaceable part that does fit the Hero 3. There you go. Now no, that's not a Hero 3, it's a DYS camera, which is exactly the same weight, dimensions and configuration as a GoPro Hero 3, but it only costs about 60 or 70 pounds as opposed to 300 pounds, and it's probably a much better idea to let something like that that's slightly cheaper fly out of sight in a plane made out of polyurethane foam. Okay, so let's work out how to put it together. There's no servos. No, servos don't come with the kit at all. I started out trying to use Savox micro servos, which are the servos I usually use because they're strong, they're fast, and they've got high resolution, which means you don't get a jerky movement, you get a quick response on the gimbal and so on, and they do fit the gimbal nicely, so I thought I'd use those. Now how do the servos drive the gimbal? Well, these little cogwheels that come with the kit are the clue. They need to be fitted onto the servo. So I tried to fit them to my Savox servo, which are metal geared. Don't fit, they're too small, so forget about the expensive servos. I went into my junk box and got a couple of cheap plastic servos of Chinese origin, and it fits them beautifully. There we go. In we go. The cogwheel fits the servo nicely, and of course once you've fitted the cogwheel, you need to secure it with a servo bolt. which I'll do now. So do that with both the servos. There you are, both servos have got cogwheels. Now where to put them? Let's take the camera out. I'm going to configure this gimbal with a GoPro 2 camera because I've got one. It's quite old and I don't mind losing it. I'm not going to use even this copy of a GoPro 3, so we can get rid of all those parts. Those parts, we can get rid of those, and we can get rid of the GoPro 3 reflector as well. We won't be using those. So here are the parts that we're going to use. Now, how do the servos move the gimbal? The clue is in the fixed cogs there, and go look for it there. So the cogs are there and there. So somehow we need to get these servos to talk to those cogs. And now before we do anything, we need to get ourselves a servo tester, which is that, and a battery of some sort. Now servo tester, if you haven't already got one, is an essential piece of kit for your toolbox. You'll need it again and again and again if you're going to persist with this hobby, and you've probably already got one, but this is just a heads up. They cost £2 or £3, but they're essential for setting things like this up. Okay, so we've got to set each servo up so that it's exactly in the center position. So we plug the servo into the servo tester. There. And we power the servo tester up with the battery. There. Now we can manipulate the servo if we plug it in the correct way around. There we go. We can manipulate the servo with the servo tester. Now it's got 3 settings. 1, manual, move the servo backwards and forwards. 2, servo in the central position. 3, servo going backwards and forwards. Now you'll see this is a cheap plastic servo, and it's a bit clunky and jerky, so if I have a problem with that I might have to replace it with more expensive servos, but I haven't got any in my junk box at the moment. Now we have our 2 servos, the pan and the tilt. We take one of them and we match it up. Let's say that this is going to be the pan servo. We match this servo up with the pan cog, which is in there. Okay, so we fit the servo so that the wheels meet up, the cog wheels meet up exactly. Now where they meet up, we need to make sure that the pan is in the middle position, facing forwards, because we've got our servo set to the middle position, and that's the point where the cogs need to meet. So we push it in right up to the cog, make sure the cogs meet, and then we can screw the servo in. There we go. Screw it in. There we go, in it goes. There we have the pan fixed in position. Now if we connect that to our servo tester, here we go. the gimbal should pan. Place it in the middle position. That's in the middle position. And here we are. Pan left, pan right, pan left, pan right, pan left, pan right. So that's the pan done. Now we do exactly the same for the tilt. Okay, the tilt servo needs to be married up with the tilt fixed cog and in the central position. Now it's mounted in the plane like that, so the tilt should be at right angles to these arms. So we pull the arm up to right angles and push the servo in until it locks up with the cog. There, it's at right angles, servo matches up with the cog, and we tighten it in. There we go. Doesn't matter if it's not exactly right, we can trim that off with the transmitter and the head tracker. This gimbal, by the way, is only any good for head tracking. It's no good for it's no good for stabilizing your video or anything like that. It'd be too jerky for that. You'd need a brushless gimbal for that. And I've been thinking I might, at some stage, when I've got it all trimmed out and flying nicely, put a brushless gimbal in my Go Discover plane, because there's plenty of room. Anyway, let's test these two servos. I'll plug them both in so they both go together. So there goes one, wrong way around. Doesn't matter if you put it in the wrong way around, because the positive rail is in the middle peg, and you won't reverse the polarity and blow it up. Thank goodness, because I'm always doing that. Okay, plug the other one in. And there we are. We have our head tracking gimbal going tilt and pan, tilt and pan. And that's that bit of the assembly complete. We've done the electronics. Now we need to mount the camera, and that's simple. Put the camera in, facing away from that servo. Now there is a piece of plastic that goes in the back. Put that in. Now this has been very carefully designed, this, and I've got to give Hobby King every credit. It's a bit difficult to get in. Plug it in, and we need to screw that on. Well, we don't screw it on, we put it on with split pins. There's two split pins in the kit, there and there, and they go through these pegs with a hole in the end, and that holds the camera in the mounting. Sorry if I'm a bit ham-fisted. That's one, and the other one is where? And the other one is here. Need to press it in. It's a tight fit. Find the hole, as the actress said to the bishop. There we go. So that's the camera fixed in, and the electronics done. There's one more bit that you can put in if you like. I can't see that it's necessary. That's the cover. It's not mechanically necessary. I suppose it protects the camera, so that goes in. So a screw goes in there. Zonk. And a screw goes in there. Now there you have the completed gimbal, head tracking gimbal, not video stabilization gimbal, I would add. And the reason why I said that it's very well thought out by Hobby King is because here they've left a nice open area for you to be able to plug in your video, and it's protected by this so it doesn't get knocked around when the camera moves around. The USB socket is easily accessible there, and that doesn't need to be protected because you don't use that in the air, and that I believe is a headphone socket or something. And the other side is easy to get the SD card in and out, and there's an HDMI connection there which also you wouldn't use in the air. Okay, unless you've got a HD video sender to the ground or something like that, but that would probably be beyond the scope of this. So that's it complete. Now it goes in the plane, and we'll see how the rest of the build goes. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye.